Well, a pleasant good afternoon and welcome to 7 Eyewitness News right here on Win TV. I'm your host, Sheldon Yearwood. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our online viewers at wintvworld.com. We're coming to you live from Lodge Park in Shogunas. I'm reading the newspaper today and I'm looking at this young man who's now facing charges for the threat against the Prime Minister's life. And so many questions started circling my mind surrounding this case. Now, of course, he has been officially charged with the case. He has pleaded not guilty. So we can't really get into too much detail surrounding the case itself. But swift action by the police service and, of course, the E999 rapid response, to be exact, led them to the arrest of the young man, of course, who is facing this very serious charge indeed. And, it comes on the heels of the Prime Minister, opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, also faced a similar situation with death threats, and it seems to be very common and coming to the fore a lot these days. And, we really have to take a stock at ourselves as a nation, ask ourselves, where are we heading? Because this is really not a good sign. I mean, we know it's nothing new, as I mentioned before. This whole issue of threats to people in high office, but it's happening so often. And what people also have to be very mindful of as well. Based on this particular case here, the police service and an extension the Ministry of National Security are clearly putting a lot of plans in place and mechanisms in place to deal with situations like these. Now, as it stands, he is, of course, charged, right? And the case is in progress, and he pleaded not guilty. But based on what they said here in the report, that he was basically traced based on this call that he made to E999, stating his intent. Now, just want to let you know on a little secret here. Well, it won't be a secret anymore. But I remember when the rapid response system had come into effect, that was under the UNC government. I was actually one of the first police dispatchers that worked there for about 3 years. And I remember, many times there'll be calls that will come in. That time system was pretty new, and they're still more or less familiarizing themselves with the whole system. And many times there'll be calls that you can get from payphones and so forth where you couldn't really fix as to where the call was coming from. And that made it a bit challenging for us as the civilian dispatchers, as well as, of course, for the police officers. But over the years, they have really done a lot to improve the sensitivity of the system to locate where people live, et cetera, in the event people make, such calls like these. So, again, I'm going to say great work on behalf of the police officers. Again, we're going to let, of course, the judicial system take its course and see where this all pans out. But again, really, really worried about where we are as a country at this point in time. Now, we actually got some more information surrounding this young man, which we can't reveal at this time, but it just goes to show, again, Trinidad and Tobago really, really in need of some serious prayers. Really, really, truly indeed. Well, let's turn our attention now to some other news. Again, later on during the course of the program, we are going to, of course, take your calls. And as I mentioned before, with the death threat before to Dr. Rowley, same applies to the Prime Minister. Please don't make light of something like this and be very mindful of your comments. All right? Again, really great work on behalf of the police service. And of course, you need to pray for TNT, honestly. We continue with some more news this time. Of course, the whole controversy surrounding the CDA and the Planning Minister, Dr. Botewari, says he has instructed the chairman of the Chaguaramas Development Authority to clear the air and speak with the media. And a report circulated that the CDA requested telephone records of a reporter from TSTT after a story was published. And of course, since then, and we go back to the whole issue of state boards and the controversy of state boards, and really have to ask our questions: what can they do now? What should be done in order to regulate state boards properly and effectively? Some have been calling for the management of state boards to be removed from under the arms of the government, and some are saying no. But is that really the solution? Because this has been going on for always an issue with one state board or the other. So we're going to get into that story coming out of the TTMA press conference this morning. Several speakers, you're going to hear what they all had to say later on during the course of the news. All right, so again, Of course, the budget debate continued today with some very interesting speakers. Senator El-Wari as well, wrapping up just a short while ago, as well as last evening. Mr. Lambert, that's right, the head of the NUGFW, he spoke about the benefits for the labor movement under the People's Partnership government, but he also called on the CPO to basically, get things together, get their act together in terms of dealing with issues facing the working class. So lots happening in the news today. Of course, we return today with our off-peak news. Of course, our Tech Minute, our Health Capsule. Lots happening in the news today. Sit back and relax. When we come back, we go straight into our major news. Stay tuned. And welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Before we go to our newscast, I got some text yesterday in relation to some serious matters. Just to let you all know that I will be calling you back. I know one is a 665 number. Just letting you know if you're looking that I am seeing the information. I'll give you a call later on. And a situation surrounding a school, which I find very disturbing. And I actually forwarded this information to the Ministry of Education already. But I'll go into more details later on during the course of the program. Let's go to our first story. Planning Minister Dr. Bo Terare says he has instructed the chairman of the Chaguaramas Development Authority to clear the air and speak with the media. This after reports indicated that the CDA requested telephone records of a reporter from TSTT after a story was published in the newspaper about the state company. The CDA has since denied making any request, insisting it just requested the phone records for its own company. TSTT has assured it will investigate the matter, but Minister Terare does not want the reporter who did the story to interview the CDA officials. He wants an independent reporter.
Raymond did in fact tell me so, and that they did not make themselves accessible, and I asked the chairman if he would please arrange for an interview so that he can express his point of view. And I asked him if he would get in touch with the CEO so that she can express her point of view.
He says the CDA has denied all the claims.
As of now, despite the newspaper report, the response from my chairman is that the article is incorrect. That is to say that there was no request from TSTT for the phone records.
The planning minister acknowledged that trouble has been brewing at the board of the CDA.
The board has been too fractious. It has been too contentious. I have not had harmony. This is a board I inherited. It was not a board that I recommended. It has been fractious. It has not had harmony, and they seem to be, what can I say, not receptive to reasonable discourse. At the end of the day, the judgment on all of these things will have to be made, first of all, by myself, and secondly, ultimately, by cabinet.
In some other news, National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister Gary Griffith remains tight-lipped over the death threat to the Prime Minister, stating he did not wish to jeopardize the case. Griffith also highlighted that despite his portfolio, due to the sensitivity of the case, he was also not privy to much information. Nikolai Marfan, 23, was charged for threatening the life of Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Marfan, a porter at the Piarco International Airport, was granted bail in the sum of $75,000 and has since pleaded not guilty to the charge. He's accused of making a phone call to officers of the E999 Rapid Response, stating his intent. Marfan was arrested during a sting operation by members of the Port of Spain CID during a sting operation. This death threat comes on the heels of death threats made against the leader of the opposition, Dr. Keith Rowley. We turn now to some more business news. Well, Finance Minister Larry Hawai says there were initiatives he would have liked to include in the budget to facilitate the private sector. However, he says due to certain challenges, he was unable to do so.
getting the processes within the various organs of the government to work in a way that would facilitate what we want to do.
One of this country's leading manufacturers is calling on the government to start protecting the local manufacturing sector. The call comes from Ronald Grossberg from Diana Candy. Grossberg says business is tough for manufacturers and it's difficult to survive in the global scheme.
Today, manufacturing is extremely tough. Surviving is extremely hard. Those who are here in manufacturing are survivors. I don't know of any new manufacturer in the last 12 years. No one is crazy enough to get into manufacturing in the environment in which we are in now. I don't have it. I might as well go to China, buy my stuff ready-made, bring it in here, pack it. All I need to do is teach someone how to use a stapler and to buy a bag and to put on a label. That's what the market is here.
Grossberg also questioned when the government would make a final decision on the VAT issue, especially with Christmas just around the corner.
VAT issue. My customers are asking, when is that decision going to come? We don't want to stock. Christmas is in the air unless we know whether we are paying VAT or we're not paying VAT. So I'd like to get an early decision on the VAT issue.
In response, Trade and Industry Minister Vasant Bharat says the basic food items list is still being finalized.
There's a deadline of November the 15th. Sometime during the course of next week, we will have finalized that listing of products that conform to what we determine to be basic items.
And while Planning Minister Dr. Botawari says all state boards are presently being reviewed, the Prime Minister mentioned earlier this year that boards would have been reviewed along with the cabinet reshuffle, but that was not done at the time. Dr. Wari made the comments in line with the conflict brewing at the Chaguaramas Development Authority and reports of telephone records of a reporter being requested from TSTT.
When the matters come to cabinet, they go to what is known as a board's review committee, and then they come back to cabinet.
He says there are 3 factors that all state boards should have, and one includes competence and good leadership.
The second thing is that you need to have boards that will not sabotage government policy. So you need to have a certain kind of when you need to have people on the board who understand what is their responsibility of being members of the board. And the third thing that you want really is that the board will have a certain kind of entrepreneurial quality in it that will envision and create things going forward.
And President of the Manufacturers Association, Dominic Hadid, says the government needs to be doing a lot more since this country hasn't seen many changes over the years. Hadid made the comments at the Competitiveness Forum hosted by the TTMA today.
We would have came back here in 2040. Would I find a Trinidad and Tobago with clean roads, no potholes, no traffic, no crime, jobs for all, intelligent people, constructive conversations in Parliament, bipartisanship for a country? I mean, that's what I'm asking for. 2% of this and 3% of that doesn't paint a picture. They come to Trinidad, I mean, 1 or 2 buildings have changed, but the mentalities have gotten worse.
In response, Planning Minister Dr. Botawari tried to explain the government's objective, but the TTMA president wasn't buying the explanation.
What we are after is an innovation-driven growth economy in which you're going to have a full employment knowledge economy.
I'm simple and I don't understand that. To the man on the street, how does it sound to him? I understand you, huh? Believe me, I do. But how do we get that message to get the inclusion, to get their buy-in?
TNT without any potholes? Come on. Won't be the same. Let's take a break. When we come back, more news. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. We continue with our news at this time. It is the responsibility of every citizen to lend a helping hand in eradicating poverty. This was the message sent to the citizens of TNT by Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. Glenn Ramadarsingh, during a poverty reduction exhibition today at Bhup Singh Park in Penal. This as the world gets ready to celebrate Poverty Eradication Day tomorrow. Keisha Charles tells us more.
Be your brother's keeper. This was the call being made by the Minister of the People and Social Development, Glenn Ramadarsingh. He says this is an important tool in fighting poverty. The minister made the comment while speaking during the Poverty Reduction Day and Micro-Enterprise Exhibition at Bhup Singh Park, Penal, earlier today. As the world prepares to celebrate World Poverty Eradication Day on October 17th, he says it is the responsibility of every citizen to lend a helping hand.
We all have a responsibility to give our fellow citizens who are struggling daily to survive help and hope.
Dr. Ramadarsingh says citizens must start caring for each other in order to make the country a better place. He lashed out at communities which allow neighbors to dwell in unsanitary conditions.
Is that if we want Trinidad and Tobago to be a better place, we must begin to look out for those who need help and assistance that we had gotten at some point in our lives.
He says food security is also a key element in the fight against poverty.
And we must be able to draw and withdraw from that wealth by engaging our elders and mentors who know how to grow food, who know how to keep bees, who know how to get milk production going from a very small, well-run unit.
The minister said that 355 grants in the sum of $5,000 have already been distributed to 14 regional corporations as part of the government's poverty reduction program. He boasted that the $1.5 million spent to get persons out of poverty is more than any other administration has spent in this fight. For 7 Eyewitness News, I'm Keisha Charles.
And meanwhile, the Regional Social and Human Development Council of Chaguanas will be hosting a panel discussion to promote World Poverty Day. In an interview with 7 Eyewitness News last evening, Noreen Dancliffe Furlong, a supervisor attached to the Ministry of Social Development, outlined the focus of the discussion.
Our focus groups would be schools and children at CXC level and lower 6 and upper 6. It will take the form of a panel discussion. The panel will consist of Dr. Asha Cambon of ECLAC, Dr. Kenneth Niles, a lecturer in aging and a pastor at the university and a pastor, and Mr. Husani, an ex-principal, and the representative on the Trinidad and Tobago Commission for UNESCO.
She says poverty is not simply as a lack of economic resources, but also a lack of knowledge and skills.
Individuals have access to the micro-enterprise grant. And I say grant and not loan because they don't have to repay it. What happens is that we work with individuals who have a good business idea, but cannot approach the bank for funding because they probably don't have the collateral that the bank would be asking for. We also work along persons in trying to keep proper records when the business gets going. And the business could span from selling of clothing, making clothing, to somebody wanting a worker because the grant amount is $5,000. The regional micro-project grant is $50,000 and that is available to groups in the area.
The event is scheduled for October 17th, that's tomorrow, at Plaza de Montrose between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon. That's World Poverty Eradication Day. We turn our attention now to the budget debate in the Senate, and the Office of the Chief Personnel Officer is not operating in the best interests of workers. This was the view of Government Senator and leader of the National Union of Government and Federated Workers, James Lambert. He made the comments while making his contribution to the 2012-2013 budget debate in the Senate last night.
We in the Labour movement do not believe that the CPO office takes into consideration the terms and conditions of the employment of public sector workers.
The trade union has been up in arms against the government over the slow pace of negotiations for the period 2008 to 2010. The movement has been rejecting government's 5% offer to public servants. However, Lambert told the House he is confident that under the People's Partnership government, all pending negotiations will be settled in a timely manner.
And the Minister of Finance have said quite clearly that no longer negotiations and collective bargaining in Trinidad and Tobago will go as long as it did.
Well, Independent Senator Dr. Ralph Balgobin says there is little or no productivity in Tobago. His comments came during debate on the 2012-2013 national budget in the Senate earlier. Now, according to Dr. Balgobin, something needs to be done about this, given the amount of money being allocated to the island in the budget.
There is a major problem of productivity in Tobago, and the whole debate is about how much money they are entitled to.
He expressed concern over the estimated revenue for the island over the next 12 months.
The subsidy for the Port of Spain City Corporation is bigger than the amount of revenue that Tobago generates. Well, if the numbers are wrong, somebody do tell me. Look at there. But the demand is for billions.
Well, Trade and Industry Minister Vassan Barras says the government will be paying off debts for the next 17 years. He's blaming the former PM administration for this burden, after they left behind a $7.5 billion deficit.
Extravagance of the Brian Lara Stadium, the Scarborough Hospital, the waterfront projects that we have here that we will be paying off over the next 17 years.
Minister Barras says oil, gas and energy prices were their highest under the PNM administration.
In 1993, this country suffered what was called negative growth. Negative growth of 3.5%, Madam Vice President. We must take all of that into context in determining the budgetary statement that Minister Hawaii has presented here for the period, the fiscal year 2013. We must also remind ourselves, lest we forget, that revenues were at an all-time high. Gas revenues were, gas prices were $13.06. Oil prices were at a high of $147, Madam Vice President. And in fact, energy revenues was at an all-time high of $29.9 billion.
Well, in some other news now, well, one independent senator believes that this country's judiciary is flat on its back. Independent Senator Dr. Ralph Balgobin says the judiciary is overrun with cases despite the low detection rate by the police.
In my view, is flat on its back. The Chief Justice may disagree, and he's entitled so to do. But I think that they have been overrun by the sheer volume of cases coming at them.
Senator Balgobin said institutions such as judiciary have been starving for resources.
Society have been starved of resources for years. The budgetary allocations to them are really not about driving meaningful transformation. They just roll over spend.
In some crime news now, a 13-year-old girl was reportedly sexually assaulted and buggered by a close male relative. It was reported that the teenager, who lived with her foster parents in Carney for several years, was visited regularly by the relative. Between January and October of this year, the girl reported that she was raped twice during these visits and on one occasion buggered while out with the man for a drive. Her foster parents informed the police, and after investigations by Senior Superintendent Dulalchan, Superintendent Abraham, and officers from the Carney Police Station, headed by Sergeant Gobin, the 42-year-old male relative was arrested yesterday. He's expected to appear before Shogunas Magistrate tomorrow to be charged with the offenses. And a 22-year-old man was held with a gun and other ammunition last night. Sources say the Central Division Task Force, headed by Corporal Ken Ali, were out on patrol on the Couva Main Road around 8:30 last night. Upon reaching Casey Confectionery, they saw a man with a plastic bag in his hand. The man ran when he saw the officers. They held him and searched his bag. They found a .38 revolver and several rounds of .38 special ammunition in a mosquito coil box. The Couva resident was arrested and is expected to appear before a Couva magistrate tomorrow. The operation was supervised by Senior Superintendent Dulalchan and Superintendent Abraham. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we take a few of your calls, and then later on we have lots more news for you at the top of the hour and our special features after 6. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
News research suggests that people with a knack for creativity often have a mental problem. The study used more than 1 million subjects. The Swedish researchers found that writers had a higher risk of anxiety and bipolar disorders, schizophrenia, depression, and substance abuse. Lead researcher Dr. Simon K. Ager said the findings suggested that disorders be viewed in a new light and that certain traits might be beneficial or desirable. For example, the intense interests of someone with autism and the manic drive of a person with bipolar disorder might provide the necessary focus and determination for genius and creativity. Similarly, the disordered thought linked to schizophrenia might spark the creative originality of a masterpiece. Beth Murphy, another researcher, indicated that bipolar disorder personality traits could be beneficial to those in creative professions. But it may be that people with bipolar disorder are more attracted to professions where they can use their creative skills. Dr. Kai Ager said, if some outcomes associated with madness are beneficial, it opens the way for a new approach to treatment of mental illnesses. And that was your health capsule on the 7 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. Before we go to your calls at 665-6278, just a gentle reminder once again of our open house this Saturday at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We are very, very strict on the time, so please, if you have to reach here early for 10, please do that. And of course, don't come after 2, all right? So again, walk with your documents, and let's see how best we can help you with your calls. Just to mention again, those who sent the text yesterday with your phone numbers, I'll return those calls this evening. Before we go to calls, let's go to our first This Day in History. All right, we have the footage for you, and it's about Marie Antoinette, very popular name. She was beheaded on this day. Now, on this day in 1793, Marie Antoinette is beheaded. She goes to the guillotine 9 months after her husband, the former King Louis of France, was executed. She married Louis in 1770 to strengthen the French-Austrian alliance. She lived extravagantly and encouraged her husband to resist reform of the monarchy. She's perhaps remembered most for saying, "Let them eat cake," referring to the French peasantry during a time when there was no bread to eat. The increasing revolutionary uproar convinced the king and queen to attempt an escape to Austria in 1791, but they were captured and carried to Paris. In 1792, the French monarchy was abolished, and Louis and Marie Antoinette were condemned for treason. Even after her death, she's often considered as part of the popular culture and a major historical figure of France. She has been the subject of many books, films, and other forms of media. Some academics deem her frivolous and superficial and attribute the start of the French Revolution to her. Of course, one of our 2 This Day in History segments will bring in the other one after 6 p.m. Let's go to your calls at 665-6278. That's 665-6278. Let's take our first call. Caller, pleasant good evening. You're on the air. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Sheldon, good afternoon.
How are you?
Around this time, it's Diwali, okay?
That's correct.
And every year, the price of ghee keeps skyrocketing every Diwali time. Could you get one of those people from Ariba who import this product and let us know why the price keeps increasing every year?
Thank you very much for the comment. Thank you much for the suggestion. And definitely, I know it's interesting that you made this comment at a time when, of course, you have, and again, you remember I mentioned the whole Facebook situation yesterday? Well, I went and actually saw it. And there are some, small groceries, even large ones, who are very sly, raising their prices, very cunning, little by 2 cents, by 5 cents, by $1 in some cases. And now this is happening at a time when the government is trying to reduce some prices on food items. But again, I keep making the point, you can't put the cart before the horse, you understand? Because there have been measures like this before, and these business owners will still do what they want to do and sell up the prices. So again, there must be some strict measures in place in regulating these businesses, because they're going to keep squeezing the pockets of people in this country every time. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, good day, caller.
Good day, Sheldon.
Yes, good day. Welcome.
Yes, good afternoon, Sheldon.
Good afternoon.
Sheldon, I want to play some record. My thanks to to Win TV in particular for the emphasis they place on local news, because that is very important. And I want to also thank the media in general in Trinidad and Tobago for the keen interest they play in the development of Trinidad and Tobago. And in this regard, I want to say that had it not been for people like Mr. Hadid, who spoke right in the newscast, the TTMA, Ms. Catherine Kumar, Ms. Dana Sitahal, Mr. Martin Daly, all these people have focused on the question of trust, confidence, and truth. And I think it is important that we understand that these people are independent people. And I call on the Prime Minister again to ensure that our government get on track. Remember, we had the attack on the media. We had the confusion on state boards. We had the question of truth, where the Prime Minister said there'd be no VAT on all food items, when it was agreed that 59 items were there. And finally, Sheldon, I want to state, and I want to say very openly, that as an independent citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I am going to assure the Prime Minister that Section 34, where our trust has been betrayed, will never go away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comment. Let's continue with your calls. Of course, it is on some food items. Caller, you on the air. Go ahead. Let's hear your comments.
Hello, yes. Good evening, Sheldon.
Pleasant to meet you.
I would like to find out if the pension and disability money will be going into the bank on the 1st of November.
Well, that was the last announcement that it would be in November. That's in terms of the disability. Now, what you're asking in terms of the increase, she left already. Okay, just to clarify, are you asking about the increase in terms of the disability grant? That is scheduled, I believe, for November, right? But I'm still waiting for confirmation on that. All right, if it's the increase you're speaking of. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, caller.
Hello, good afternoon, Sheldon.
Yes, good day.
Just calling to inform you that we are not picking up Channel 7 in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, let me just clarify this so the members are probably receiving numerous calls as well on our 800 line. Our transmitter is just giving some problems. It is currently being looked into by our technical department. Soon as we have word as into exactly how soon it'll be back up, we will definitely let you know. So we do have to apologize for this this interruption. Many people really enjoy the fact that we're going to be receiving us on Channel 7. It's a temporary setback, and we're going to inform you as soon as we get word as to when we back up on that channel, all right? So just to let you all know that, no problem. Caller, pleasant good evening. You're on the air. Welcome to the program. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, good day. Go ahead.
Sheldon, I would like to know, I live at Pittibrook, Sawo, and we don't have no CPEP or no URP worker by us.
As in gangs?
No gang, so we would like to get a gang or a CPEP placed in one mess.
Pittibrook?
I think you find on that for us, please.
Well, what I can do, I'll actually, we're very good with Mr. Dion Ryan, chairman of CPEP, so I'll just pass information on to him.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. See if we can
thanks.
shed
so
some
I
light.
I get him and nothing doing.
All right, we'll pass it on to him, and once you have crews up there, just let us know that things worked out. All right?
Okay, yeah. After I get crew, I will call you back.
All right, no problem.
Thanks again.
Good, no problem. All right, caller, get on the air. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Hello, good evening, caller. Hello, not hearing. Hello, good evening, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead.
Hi, how are you? There's a rumor going out of Mr. Ian Allen that he got shot and he's dead.
I have not received any such information, and of course I know for some time now we've been getting these sort of reports concerning Ian because of the area of work that he does, which is crime. So, but at this point in time, I have not received any such report, and I don't think any of the media.
What happened? I went to a certain bookstore and I was there, and I had some friends working there.
I will tell you this much. I mean, if it was indeed true, trust me, because of Ian's popularity and because he's so heavily involved in dealing with crime issues, you would have found out about that a long time ago. So I doubt very much. But again, at this point in time, we have not received any such word at all. All right. So, but I will still make a call to see if something did happen. Maybe some event happened.
What they said it happened somewhere in Pakistan a few days ago.
No, well, I don't know. I'll have to, but I don't think it's anything serious, but I will find out. But as this one time, we received no such report. None at all.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. All right. Caller, you on the air. Pleasant good evening. Welcome to the program. Hello, good day,
Hello,
caller.
Sheldon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sheldon, first things first, can you please let us know what it is going on at Mount Hope? Operations that were supposed to be scheduled since last week, Friday. For some reason or the other, every week they're putting it off. Last week, Friday, it was for the orthopedic surgery. It was for the strike. Then today, it was supposed to have operations again. They call the people and tell them that no anesthetic and they have to go back on Friday. I mean, why is all they keep doing the people this thing? You understand? All they don't know what the trauma that people going through, gearing up themselves for this operation, and then, they're not doing it. Secondly, I sent you a text on Friday.
Which one was
where
it?
A caller had called about the section when the thing was repealed with Mrs. McKnight. But a TV station did show you the letter.
Oh, yeah.
Where the letter was dated the 30th of August. So I don't know what is the big deal that they say that they hiding it or whatever. And when she went to the printry, she didn't see it was dated on the 12th. The television station showed you. And Sheldon, one last thing before I go.
No problem.
They're talking about all the spending that this government is spending. And up to now, nobody cannot account or come forward with this, the toilet at Curab Junction. It costs taxpayers $1.5 million and $50,000 every month to maintain, and nobody can use the toilet. And then they want to talk about this government wasting money. Have a good evening, Sheldon.
Well, I never used that toilet. Maybe I should go inside and start looking. I want to touch on the Mount Hope issue. Again, health is something I'm very passionate about, as you know. And, there's also sides of the story, yes, but we have received so many reports coming out of the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex. I am sure if you count all the hair on my head, you will still run short of few. I do not know what is happening, and the thing is, there are those, of course, who are calling, because as you know, they're trying to outsource, people to manage certain aspects of the hospital and so forth because of some of the problems that are happening there at the hospital, right? So if it is, if you don't want a situation where you need to outsource management, then therefore those who are hired with the responsibility to manage this department, which includes doctors, of course, and nurses, then do what is needed to be done. Yes, there are situations where I know that things can be very trying in the health sector and it can be very challenging. But I have seen with my own eyes when I worked in the health system, and I have seen many very glaring reports where many of them just don't care. So you reach a stage now where, as you mentioned, the people are suffering, and then when they're talking about outsourcing, everybody want to get upset. Then therefore, let's do what we can do, make the best of what is a bad situation. We know it's not perfect, not in San Fernando, not in Mount Hope, not anywhere. But this doesn't make it any easier, where everybody suffers, not just the staff, but as well, of course, the patients as well. Let's continue with your calls. Caller on the air, go ahead. Hello, good evening, caller. Welcome to the program.
Hi, good afternoon. May I speak to Sheldon?
Yes, you're on the air. Good evening. Go ahead.
Hi, Sheldon. Good day.
Good evening.
Sheldon.
Yes, good evening.
I'm calling to find out about the food card.
What exactly you want to find out?
I want to know when we will receive it.
Are you calling a member of the differently abled community, or are you calling just as someone who applied for one?
I am someone who applied.
Well, that's a kind of hard. Okay, that's a kind of hard question to answer just like that, because every situation is different. So the reasons or the conditions under which you applied will be different to someone else who applied. So I really can't answer that question. As I mentioned some time back, that they were reviewing the whole process of giving out these food cards because of all the discrepancy and all, of course, the legal issues that they had to deal with. So I can't answer that question directly. All I know, come November, many of these services will be rolled out, and those who've been waiting, they're going to reassess them and call them in, etc. So whereas your case in particular, I can't answer that. What you need to do is contact your social welfare office nearest to you to get more information, all right? And the 800 PPL number, I got information last week that particular number, they're having some challenges with it. So they're trying to rectify that by the end of the month. All right, so because people can actually get through, because I heard that many people are not getting through that number, and I find it very disturbing, quite honestly. So they said by the end of this month, they're going to have that sorted out. All right, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, good evening, caller. You're on the air. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. I saw Ian Allen in Shoguana's First Citizen Bank today. So he's well and looking real slim and trim.
Yeah, he lose some weight.
And the next thing I want to ask, when they're going to start to give out the national insurance for the widow benefit, I raised it by $200.
All right, thank you very much. I believe that is from February, but I'll have to clarify that because I know they're making some changes to it. In terms of, and again, as I said, I wasn't too worried because I mentioned something like that. We will have received wind of that from early o'clock. You know, so and it's not the first time that we've heard, of course, these kind of reports coming out surrounding Ian. So it was so again. So that answers your question, ma'am. Who called before? He is fine. According to the man, he slim and trim. You see this wearing no jacket and thing. Just trade it off. Only shirt and tie. Just know you might go bareback on the set. Then again, maybe not. Let's continue with your calls. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Sheldon.
Hi. Good evening.
Good afternoon. I enjoy your program so much.
Thank you.
It's always have something really, really great on your program. Medical problem, everything.
Try to cover as much as we can.
I don't miss the program, but anyway, I have a problem this evening. I'm calling all the way from Cuba, and I have a problem that I am getting a public assistance, right, of $860. But I am not working anywhere, Sheldon. I have to live on $800.
Okay, this is clearly a personal matter, so I don't want to take too much details on the phone. Can you come and see me on Saturday?
Saturday at what time?
All right, I'll make the announcement now again. For maybe you probably missed it. We're having an open house. For those who probably missed it, there's probably just clarification. Remember, the open house is on Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 20th of October, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you need assistance, like, of course, the caller just a while ago, with certain matters like these, bring your documents, information, so I can build a case before the relevant minister, whichever the case may be. And, of course, look into it for you as fast as we can. All right, so you can come and see me on Saturday at Win TV in Chaguanas, and I'll see how best I can assist. All right, what's the time? Let's take a couple more calls. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead. Hello, good day, caller.
Hi, good day, Sheldon.
Hi, good day.
I'm calling to find out, right, that... Hello?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm calling to find out that the $200 that they'll be given on the grant, when they will be paying that.
That's disability grant?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, I believe, in November, all right? But there may be some changes that it may be in February. But the latest report I heard, thus far, it will be in November, all right?
And the disability food card, when they will be given that?
The food card?
Yeah.
Around the same time. But that I'm more sure of the first one, the first question you raised about
when I called Dr. Glenn Ramadas's office, 800
for PPL.
What they told me that they know nothing about that.
Let me just clarify this one time. You see this 800 for PPL number? It is giving some problems.
No,
so
I got through to them at all.
No, what I mean, let me explain. In terms of, there seems to be some miscommunication in terms of dissemination of information between different agencies with that number. So what I would advise you to, until they sort that out, if you can call the division directly, go into the phone book. They have, what I will do tomorrow, I'll try between 40 and a week, I'll try and get the numbers for each division. So you call them directly and get the information.
Yes, but I for Shoguanas, right? And when I called them, they said that they knows nothing about that.
That's Shoguanas Social Welfare?
Yes, they said they knows nothing about any disability food card for disability people.
I mean, they don't know anything.
Yet I called them because I got on to Dr. Glenn Robertson's office, the number they gave, and they said the same thing, that you have to go just as anybody else. You have to work with your disability slip and fill out a form, and they will come home and visit you. We have to go through the procedure just as anybody else.
What? Let me just say this, and I mean, I understand the frustration and of course I understand the reason why many are very impatient. What I know the minister did, and I'm just going back to the actual press conference here, he actually met with the head of various agencies and NGOs that deal with differently able community, and I think the reason why they did that was to sort of streamline what is the best way to distribute the cards. That's one. Number two, they also have different agencies within the ministry who will be assisting in getting these cards out. I don't know if this is taking some time to do, hence why all this set a hullabaloo and run around. So, again, what I will do, I will get the direct numbers for each division, whether it be the food card division, public assistance, social welfare, they have a few numbers.
But I find that since he come and he launch it on in the air, he could at least give us a date. If it's too much, give
well,
us
as I said, I know they had said
people would not have been wandering and calling in because he said to call that number, and I confused.
Well, as I said, the last thing they said in the budget would have been in November. That's the last thing that they said in November. So I'm really hoping that that's in terms of the increase.
Okay,
all right?
Thanks very much. Eh?
No problem at all. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will go to our headlines at 6 o'clock and return with some more features right here on 7 Eyewitness News. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. This, of course, our 6 o'clock headlines. Well, Planning Minister Dr. Botuari says he has instructed the chairman of the Chaguaramas Development Authority to clear the air and speak with the media. This after reports indicated that the CDA requested telephone records of a reporter from TSTT after a story was published in the newspaper about the state company. The CDA has since denied making any request, insisting it just requested the phone records for its own company. TSTT has assured it will investigate the matter, but Minister Tiwari does not want the reporter who did the story to interview the CDA officials. He wants an independent reporter.
Chairman did in fact tell me so, and that they did not make themselves accessible, and I asked the chairman if he would please arrange for an interview so that he can express his point of view. And I asked him if he would get in touch with the CEO so that she can express her point of view.
He says that CDA has denied all the claims.
As of now, despite the newspaper report, the response from my chairman is that the article is incorrect. That is to say that there was no request from TSTT for the phone records.
The planning minister acknowledged that trouble has been brewing at the board of the CDA.
The board has been too fractious. It has been too contentious. I have not had harmony. This is a board I inherited. It was not a board that I recommended. It has been fractious. It has not had harmony, and they seem to be, what can I say, not receptive to reasonable discourse. At the end of the day, the judgment on all of these things will have to be made, first of all, by myself, and secondly, ultimately, by cabinet.
In some other news, National Security Advisor to the Prime Minister, Gary Griffith, remains tight-lipped over the death threat to the Prime Minister, stating he did not wish to jeopardize the case. Griffith also highlighted that despite his portfolio, due to the sensitivity of the case, he was also not privy to such information. Nikolai Marfan, 23, was charged for threatening the life of Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. Marfan, a porter at the Piarco International Airport, was granted bail in a sum of $75,000 and has since pleaded not guilty to the charge. He is accused of making a phone call to officers of the E999 Rapid Response, stating his intent. Marfan was arrested during a sting operation by members of the Port of Spain CID. During this death threat comes on the heels of death threats made against leader of the opposition, Dr. Keith Rowley. And we're returning now to the TTMA press conference where Planning Minister Dr. Botuari says all state boards are presently being reviewed. The Prime Minister mentioned earlier this year that boards would have been reviewed along with the cabinet reshuffle, but that was not done at the time. Dr. Tiwari made the comments in line with the conflict brewing at the Chaguaramas Development Authority and reports of telephone records of a reporter being requested from TSTT.
Come to cabinet, they go to what is known as a board's review committee, and then they come back to cabinet.
He says there are 3 factors that all state boards should have, and one includes competence and good leadership.
The second thing is that you need to have boards that will not sabotage government policy. So you need to have a certain kind of when you need to have people on the board who understand what is their responsibility of being members of the board. And the third thing that you want really is that the board will have a certain kind of entrepreneurial quality in it that will envision and create things going forward.
And Trade and Industry Minister Vasan Bharat says doing business in the country has become very difficult over the years. In fact, he says it takes 297 days for a construction permit alone.
Many people who are listening to this debate will be nodding their heads in recognition of that fact. Because of the approvals for WASA, TNTech, Town and Country, and all of the regulatory approvals, 297 days to get a construction permit in Trinidad.
297 days. Wow. All right. So this wait, what did I just say from the director? Is he on the line? It seems as though Ian just called to say that he's alive and well. I'll try and get him back on the line so you can hear for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. We come back from break. Call back Ian from him. We'll talk to him. Take a break. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News. As you know, of course, the last week or so, 3 murders sort of marred the attempts, if you want to call it that, of the Ministry of National Security to deal with the crime in East Port of Spain and, of course, other hotspot areas. Well, the minister is at it again this evening at a community meeting to address some of the concerns. He's actually at St. Paul in Port of Spain area. We have Nicole Duque on the line. And Nicole, a pleasant good evening to you.
Good evening, Sheldon.
All right,
good evening to all viewers on TV.
Thank you very much. And I'm hearing the minister in the background, so I guess things are in swing. Tell us exactly what can you tell the public thus far what the minister had to say this evening?
Sheldon, you need to repeat that. I can barely hear you.
Sorry, could you just tell us exactly what the minister had to say thus far?
Hello?
Hello, you hearing me?
Sheldon, hello?
Yeah, hello, Nicole, you hear me clearly? Hello? Hello?
Sheldon?
Yes, you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Good. Okay, just tell us exactly what the minister had to say thus far, the Minister of National Security.
All right, well, right now he is still addressing the crowd, and he has been, speaking of his crime-fighting plans. One of it is setting up a crime-fighting advisory. Another one would be, he would be having a crime-fighting consultations as of January next year. Minister Warner is also, if you recall, back when he visited Nelson Street and Douglas Street, he promised employment for persons in the area. He also made the same promise here. He said from as early as tomorrow, persons in those areas will be getting jobs.
Okay.
However, you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Right. However, there's one criteria to that, and he was just telling the gathering that, persons who are arrested while in the program, again, while working, or persons who persons who may be arrested would definitely be out of it immediately. And that's basically along the lines there. He's going to continue this series of meetings. They plan to go to Point Lisa later this week.
Right. Would you say that the minister is in any way daunted by what took place last week, or he's actually more invigorated now to really get the job done? Hello?
Yes?
All right. Would you say that the minister is daunted in any way?
Repeat that question.
No problem. Would you say the minister is daunted in any way by what took place last week, or he's more invigorated now to get the job done? Hello? All right, she's really having some difficulty hearing us there, but I'm going to try and get her back on the line. All right, at this point, but just heard what she said about the consultation. Those in Nelson Street who actually were promised jobs, well, some of them will actually receive jobs come tomorrow. I know the protest action just a little short, about a few days ago, in reference to that promise. Well, he's stating that come tomorrow, some of them will actually be employed. However, there's one condition: if they are arrested or caught in any illegal activity during that time, then therefore they will lose their job, and that's only fair. Of course, again, you know, and you saw on the minister's face when the murders took place that he was really shaken up by it, just by how he spoke alone. Of course, that clearly, from hearing him in the background, you can only anticipate or suspect or assume that he's not letting this phase him in any way, and he's going ahead full speed ahead, even more energized, clear than before, to really try and get the job done. We're going to try and call Nicole again later on, hopefully get a little better reception from her. Right? Let's take a break. When we come back, I believe, yes, we have Miss Michelle Michael with our Sports Cap report right here on 7 Eyewitness News. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Touch screens can't tell your fingers from anyone else's, or can they? Well, a team of researchers led by Chris Harrison at the Disney Research Institute in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, have built a system which distinguishes user inputs using the body's electrical profile, a technique the team calls capacitive fingerprinting. The system works by sending multiple frequencies of a weak electrical current through a user's finger when they first touch a device. Different frequencies take different paths to the ground through the human body, and the team's prototype measures the path each frequency takes, building up an electrical profile that is unique to the user. Each user's interaction with the touch screen is then assigned to their profile. The system builds on Disney's touch system, which lets everyday objects detect touch gestures. Harrison envisions tablets that allow multiple people to use a touch screen simultaneously, primarily to play games or for activities like painting. Although the system can distinguish between touch screen users, Harrison says that the body's electrical signature is not precise enough to be used as a biometric to provide secure access to a device. He pointed out that wearing a different pair of shoes changes the body's electrical signal. For example, since the flow for current to the ground is changed. This causes anyone's electrical signal to fluctuate too much to be useful for personal identification. And that was your Tech Minute for today. Cindy Ragwa for 7 Eyewitness News.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Thank you for staying with us. Well, we brought you, of course, the last couple of days. Well, not yesterday, but we started bringing you the offbeat news. Of course, news from around the world and Trinidad and Tobago, of course, that, we find very unusual. Well, this one is from the outside as well, and I'm going to wait a little while to show you exactly. When I first saw the headline, I was, this is really, really, really bizarre indeed. And there's so much more out there. Now, the offbeat news is actually, now the title of the story is called Roach Eater. Roach Eater Winner Dies. Or Roach Eating Winner, sorry. Roach Eating Winner Dies. Roach as in, yes, cockroach. With eating winner dies. Let's go to the story. Now, last week in a bizarre death, the winner of a roach eating contest in South Florida died after consuming dozens of the live bugs as well as worms. Let me repeat that. Last week, in a bizarre death, the winner of a roach eating contest in South Florida died shortly after consuming dozens of the live bugs as well as worms. I know there's a food shortage, but dang. The competition, which took place at a reptile store in Deerfield, beach near Miami. The contest hosted approximately 30 participants vying for the grand prize of a python. The victim, Edward Archibald, 32 of West Palm Beach, became ill shortly after the contest ended and collapsed in front of the store, according to officials. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. Authorities were then waiting for results of an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death. One entomology professor noted that unless the roaches were contaminated with some bacteria or other pathogens, I don't think that cockroaches would be unsafe to eat. He added that he has never heard of someone dying after consuming roaches, though some people do have allergies to roaches, but there are no toxins in roaches or related insects. The sheriff's office confirmed that none of the other contestants became ill. The bugs consumed during the contest were from an inventory of insects that were safely and domestically raised in a controlled environment as food for reptiles. Wow. Well, clearly in his case it may have been, it may have been a case of some sort of allergic reaction to it. But this is quite a competition to win a python. Wow. Live bugs as well as worms. And we thought we had a food shortage. Very tragic indeed. It's just, again, one of our, it's really, but you know, amidst all that is really, it's really, really unfortunate and tragic that the man passed away. But this is what you're going to get, offbeat news. Let's go to some more of our news actually taking place today. Let's go now to our next story. We continue with some more news before the top of the hour. All right. Well, Food Production Minister Devon Maharaj says farmers need to rethink their approach to agriculture. He made the comment in line with today being World Food Day. The Food Production Minister was speaking on WIN TV's Sunrise morning program. The United Nations has said that one step in achieving food security is to support and invest in farmers and producers. It's just one of several stories we're going to bring to you right here this evening. In just a few minutes when we come back, we bring you those stories. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
A very good evening to you and thank you for joining us. I am Michelle Michael with your Sports Cap on 7 Eyewitness News. The World 2020 champions will face Bangladesh from November 3rd to December 12th and will play 2 test matches, 5 one-day internationals and 1 2020. Glaring with confidence after winning the 2020 World Cup, the West Indies side cannot afford to take Bangladesh for granted. This from veteran and power-hitting opening batsman Chris Gayle. He believes the forthcoming tour is likely to be challenging. Gayle, who is in a 15-man squad named on Saturday, declared that he and his teammates will not become complacent. He revealed that they will continue with intense training sessions ahead of the tour. Meanwhile, West Indies wicketkeeper Dinesh Ramdin is looking forward to the tour and wants to continue his good form with the bat. He said the tour of Bangladesh was an important one for himself and the West Indies team because it is their first assignment after their come-from-behind win in the World Cup, and they will be looking to keep the momentum going. The squad includes one on-cap player in 23-year-old Guyana left-arm spinner Veerasamy Permaul. The full squad is Darren Sammy as captain, Dinesh Ramdin as wicket-keeper and vice-captain, Tino Best, Darren Bravo, Shivnarayan Chandapal, Narsingh Devnarayan, Kirk Edwards, Asad Fudadan, Chris Gayle, Sunil Narayan, Veerasamy Permaul, Kieron Powell, Ravi Rampal, Kemar Roach and Marlon Samuels. In more cricket news, India's cricket legend and possibly the best batsman in cricket, Sachin Tendulkar, will be awarded the Order of Australia, one of the country's highest honours, Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard has said. Gillard, currently on a 3-day visit to India, said Tendulkar deserved the special honour because he was a very special cricketer. Tendulkar is the first cricketer to score 100 international centuries. The 39-year-old master blaster is also immensely popular with cricket fans in Australia. Cricket is, of course, a great bond between Australia and India, and we are both cricket-mad nations, Gillard said in Delhi. The 5 feet 5 inches little master blaster has played 55 test matches against Australia and scored 5,247 runs. He has also played 96 one-day internationals against the Aussies and scored 3,817 runs. And now taking a look at World Cup qualifying matches played today, Croatia beat Wales 2-0, Belgium got the better of Scotland 2-0, and Germany had a 4-4 draw against Sweden. In other matches, Bolivia hammered Uruguay 4-1, Spain had a 1-1 draw versus France, and Italy netted 3 against Denmark, who only scored 1. In more football news, Senegal has been disqualified from the 2013 African Cup of Nations. This after a riot forced the abandonment of Saturday's home tie with Ivory Coast. It is not yet clear whether the Confederation of African Football will take further action against Senegal. The match in Dakar was called off after 74 minutes, while Ivory Coast was 2-0 up on the night and 6-2 ahead on aggregate. Trouble flared after striker Didier Drogba scored his side's second goal from the penalty spot. Senegal manager Ferdinand Coly has apologized to Ivory Coast. Visiting supporters were forced to leap down on the pitch to escape as violence erupted, with home fans throwing missiles, stones, bottles and firecrackers. Ivorian players took refuge in the center circle, while the security forces used tear gas to disperse the rioting fans. And finally, in tonight's Sports Cap, Andy Murray and Novak Djokovic threw everything at each other in Sunday's final of the Shanghai Masters. Murray, however, failed in his bid to make it a hat-trick of titles after losing a 3-set thriller to Djokovic. In the first meeting since Murray's win in the US Open final, Djokovic triumphed 5-7, 7-6, 13-11 and 6-3. Murray edged the first set, which had 7 breaks of serve, with Djokovic reacting angrily by smashing a racket. Djokovic saved 5 match points in the second set before taking the tie break and breaking Murray twice in the third. This title is Djokovic's 5th for the year. Murray has since expressed disappointment but has paid tribute to Djokovic. Well, that brings us to the end of your Sports Cap here on 7 Eyewitness News. I am Michelle Michael News.
Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News, where we continue with some more stories. We've got some of them coming out of our Sunrise program this morning. While Food Production Minister Devon Maharaj says farmers need to rethink their approach to agriculture. He made the comment in line with today being World Food Day. The Food Production Minister was speaking on WIN TV's morning program Sunrise. The United Nations has said that the one step in achieving food security is to support and invest in farmers and producers. This year's theme for World Food Day is agricultural cooperatives, key to feeding the world.
Some more modernized and more savvy. I think the cooperatives they have lost its interest as modernization keeps in. Perhaps we need to revisit institutions such as cooperatives and get people excited about it again once they adhere to the rules of the cooperative.
And while the ministry does not have much planned for today, well, the minister indicated that is also a more profitable move.
That farmers tend to have a good experience working together as a group once they have a shared goal, and it's more beneficial to the individuals that form part of the cooperative or association than if they were working in isolation of themselves.
In some other news now, while government's plan to increase food production seems to have hit a wall as they cannot find the people needed for this initiative. Well, there were plans to utilize former Caroni workers through the distribution of land, yet reports indicated last night that many failed to contact or collect their leases. Speaking on the Sunrise Morning program, Food Production Minister Devon Maharaj confirmed this report.
You can't find some of these Caroni people to acquire their leases. How true is this?
Well, it's indeed sad but true.
He said his latest reports indicated more than half of the leases were not collected.
That approximately slightly over 600 leases have been paid, and attempts for me to distribute all as quickly as possible. However, only between 250 to 300 had actually been given out, and the rest of the people just failed to respond to the adverts or to whatever calls were made.
He said he's now forced to find other means to distribute the leases to these persons. And some other news now. Ministers were warned publicly that misconduct would not be tolerated. So recent actions by the Prime Minister should be of no surprise. Well, this according to Minister of State in the Office of the Prime Minister, Roger Samuel. He made the comment in reference to the firing of Junior Minister of National Security Colin Paratep and Justice Minister Herbert Volney. Samuel says the Prime Minister advised that she would act in the best interest of the country, and she did.
I remember the Prime Minister kept reiterating before that, even at some of the public meetings, even at our anniversary celebrations since May, that, you know, she would make decisions, and some of the decisions that she will make may not be the decisions that everybody expects to do. She will shift her government and her cabinet the way she sees fit, and that's her responsibility. Yeah. And she has done that, and she has kept her word with regards to how she intends to operate and how she intends to function and govern her government.
He says although the Prime Minister was forced to make difficult decisions, she still has the full support of the Cabinet. According to Samuel, there is no malice behind the Prime Minister's actions in shifting or removing anyone.
We may call it tough love, but in the midst of it, her graciousness is still there. Yeah. And there is no bitterness or hatred with regards to anything. I do not think that there is some kind of animosity when somebody is shifted or removed. Right. It is how we see things and how we perceive things.
Never underestimate the power of art as a catalyst for change. This is the belief of a group that came together to produce a Greek play. Now, the members who come from primary and secondary schools call themselves the Mixed Choir, and they will present their musical from Friday at Presentation College. Michael Hudlin of Presentation College San Fernando and Harmony Farrell of Holy Faith Convent Pinal represented the group as guests on the Sunrise program this morning. They believe the arts can help deal with the runaway crime and delinquency problem that has gripped our country.
We have to learn how to interact and cooperate a lot with people, and it's not anything really violent or malevolent or anything like that. It's right. Everything is done for a good reason.
Yes.
And is done with good tactics.
Right.
The musical starts on Friday 19th October at 7:30 p.m. and will continue until Sunday when it begins at 6 p.m. And, well, in some other news now, the Maritime Labour Convention 2006 law needs to be put on the front burner if we are serious about developing our maritime offshore and ship repair. This is the view of the President General of the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union, Michael Aniset. He was speaking in response to the propositions made by Minister of Finance Larry Hawaii in his budget presentation that we need to start seriously working on building our maritime sector. This initiative is supported by the SWWTU and the National Trade Union Center of TNT. Aniset recently participated in a workshop for affiliates of the International Transport Workers Federation on the International Labour Organization on the MLC 2006 in Italy. He has come out saying that the MLC must be made law without delay and be taken with urgency in the government's legislative agenda for the 2012-2013 period. Aniset has always held that Trinidad and Tobago needs to ratify the MLC as it contains international guidelines to assist flag states to effectively implement their responsibilities with respect to ship inspection and certification duties. He added that it is an integral aspect if we are to develop our maritime sector. The MLC is a single coherent instrument which embodies international standards on ship safety, human security, and quality ship management, and is expected to become law on August 12, 2013. 30 countries, including Antigua and Barbuda, St. Vincent, St. Kitts and Nevis, and several major maritime countries have ratified it. And of course, at 7 o'clock, you'll see so much more at our major news. Let's take a break. When we come back, it's our second This Day in History segment. Stay tuned. Welcome back to 7 Eyewitness News right here on WIN TV. Thank you for staying with us. We actually have a couple of press releases we want to bring to your attention before we run out of time. The first one is from the Water and Sewage Authority, and I know many areas have been affected by various issues surrounding water supply, whether it be broken mains, whether it was the weather condition recently. This one, it's a broken main affecting supply to parts of northeast Trinidad. Now, this is what they're saying. So please listen carefully for your area in case you are worried worried that you may not have water tonight. The Water and Sewerage Authority advises customers in northeast Trinidad served by the North Oropouche Water Treatment Plant who are currently without a supply that this is as a result of a ruptured transmission main located along the Churchill-Roosevelt Highway, Maloney, in the vicinity of the newly constructed Shouter Baptist Primary School. The main was ruptured by Ministry of Works and Infrastructure personnel who are currently undertaking roadworks in the area. This has always been an issue, but they'll deal with that tomorrow. Hayden Phillip, director of the ministry's Pure Unit, confirmed that the damage to the main occurred around 1:45 p.m. and that his ministry will be providing whatever assistance may be required by the authority in carrying out the emergency repairs. Now, the affected areas are Timpuna Road, Malabar phases 1, 3, and 4, Brazil Village, Lohoketa, Carapo, O'Meara Road, inclusive of the industrial estate, Signature Park, Morsaka Road, North and South, Maloney Gardens, Five Rivers, Eastern Main Road from Five Rivers to Crown Street, Oropoon Village, Piaco, and San Rafael. Now, supply to the affected communities is expected to be restored by midnight tonight. Now, let's take that term very loosely. Expected to. So, keep your fingers crossed. The authority apologizes for any inconvenience caused and thanks customers for their patience. You really have to have patience with WASA. For their patience and understanding. Again, let me repeat the areas: Timpuna Road, Malabar phases 1, 3, and 4, Brazil Village, Lohoketa, Carapo, O'Meara Road, Signature Park, Morsaka Road, North and South, Maloney Gardens, Five Rivers, Eastern Main Road, Five Rivers to Crown Street, Oropoon Village, Piaco, and San Rafael. We're taking out another release here from the ODPM. Now, in light of the heavy rainfall in Port of Spain and environs, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management urges all those affected to ensure their safety and take all precautions to preserve life. Affected persons should call the ODPM's Customer Care Center at 511. That's 511. Most of us should know that by now. Citizens are asked to take note of the following. After heavy rainfall, stay inside until weather levels have subsided and it is safe to venture outside. Do not walk, drive through floodwaters. Tired to say that. But of course, again, have to keep repeating it because people still do it, still walk through the water. It is very dangerous, right? If floodwaters rise around your car, abandon the car and move to higher ground if you can do so safely. If your home is located in a flood or landslide prone area, move to a safe area well before floodwaters rise and become impassable. Be cautious when walking, driving along hillsides or landslide prone areas. Right? Let me just quickly go now to our This Day in History. It's actually about very, very famous poet. Mr. Oscar Wilde is born on this day. Now, the poet Oscar Wilde is born. He was born and grew up in Dublin, Ireland. He graduated with honors from Oxford in 1878. He was a popular figure known for his wit and flamboyant style. He published his own book of poems in 1881. He lectured in the United States for a year. He returned to Britain, got married, and had 2 children for whom he wrote delightful fairy tales. These were published in 1888. In 1890, his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, I know this novel very well, was published. He wrote his first play, The Duchess of Porda, in 1891, and wrote 4 more in the next 4 years. His plays were quite successful and he became famous for his writing. In 1895, Wilde was denounced as a homosexual. Since homosexuality was a crime in England and evidence supported this claim, he was sentenced to 2 years hard labor. In 1897, he was released from prison and he fled to Paris. He began to write once more and wrote The Ballad of Reading Gaol based on his experience in prison. He died in 1900, my apologies. He died in 1900 of acute meningitis. An interesting story there indeed. Well, at this time we've come to the end of our program. Thank you so much for staying with us once again on 7 Eyewitness News. Come up next, we have the Evening Edition News with Samantha Ratton. I am Sheldon Yearwood. Be good to yourself and God bless. Take care.